doing 10 topics live with Joey G. I thought, what more fun way to celebrate love than for me to answer questions about love? And I got so many fun questions from you guys on my Twitter, on my Instagram. I'm at Joe_Gatto on there. So if you don't follow me, make sure you do. Of course, this week we're talking about love. You know, matters of the old, his art. And who better to guide you with love than me, right? I mean, I'm your guy. You'll hear Ganache barking in the background. I apologize. She's in a mood. Why always in a mood, Ganache? I wore lavender because everybody knows it's lavender glow of love. That's what I got for you. And so let's talk about love for a second. So love, we'll talk about it in a bunch of different ways, right? There's only so many different things, like things you love to do, meaning, love languages, people you love, friends you love, any type of relationship love, things about you that you love about love. So there's so much to get into, so much to unwrap in this week's episode of 10 TikTok Topics with Joey G. I'm excited to talk about love. So here we go. Questions. Boom. Who's the first person you ever loved? My mom. Who is the first girl you loved? I would say I was in love with my high school girlfriend, Angela Roma. I would say I was in love there. But that was like high school love. And then as it got defined, I would say I was probably only in love once or twice before Bessie. There's a long stint without love or being in love as I now define it. What is a dessert you love? A cannoli. What's something you love to do? Hang out with my family and play board games. My extended family. The kids, they only play like Chutes and Ladders and those dumb shits. I don't like that as much as like I love a big family game night with my sisters and their families. That's probably my favorite thing to do. I also love to gamble. That's a lot of fun. So I have fun doing that. Does love at first sight exist? Lust at first sight definitely exists. Can it blossom into love at first sight? For sure. But I think if you're going just on that, I don't know if I would define that as love. You may fall in love with that person that started with a connection and an attraction, but I don't know if love at first sight exists as we think about it. But I definitely think the seeds of love can be planted very early on. How many people have you told I love you in your life? Too many. I tell all the people in my life that I love them. I'm not afraid to say I love you to anybody. All my friends know how important they are to me, how much I love. I think that the clock ticks too fast and you need to get it out there, and the people need to know in your life that you love them and where they stand with you. I think it's always a good thing for people to hear. So be free with your love and telling people how you feel about them. I think that's very important. Love isn't always romantic. You know what I mean? It's a genuine, it's somebody who owns a piece of your heart. That's how I define love. So that's for me, and there's a lot of people out there in my life that do it. I keep a very loving circle. All right, so that's off the top of my head, love. My favorite love song, right? I think somebody asked that, so we'll get into that later. Okay, so let's get into the questions you guys asked. So over on Twitter, you guys asked some questions. At EllenL1964 asks, who said I love you first, you or Bessie? Me and Bessie were interesting because we dated long distance for a year and a half, so we basically just had FaceTime. It was Skype we used, where we would just talk to each other, and the phone. And I feel like you really get to know somebody that way. We told each other we loved each other fast. It was the fastest I ever had done it. She said it first, but I responded in kind because I was feeling it as well. And it was on the phone, and it was about 2 months into our relationship. So I guess it was a tie. But if we want to give her props, she did say it first. At Saucy Mommy says, does a love for a human really compare to the love of favorite foods or dogs? There's nothing like the love of a favorite food. There's something about comfort food, right? A meal, loving to sit down a meal. I think the love of eating actually there's a lot of layers to that for me. You love the food and you love what you're eating. You love who's spending the time with you at the table, and you love the experience of the place you're at. So I think all that together really combine to what you love about an experience, right? So I've had some bad meals, but I loved who I was with, and I loved the experience and the memories I made. So it had nothing to do about the food. The flip side is I've had okay company, but a killer meal, and I love that place. I'll go back to that restaurant, right? So I think There's nothing like the love of people, though. Like, there's something, a real connection there. Because an eggplant parmesan is not going to love you back as much as like a boyfriend's gonna, or a girlfriend, or a friend, or you just can't get what you want from life from an eggplant parmesan. Is what I'm saying, right? You all know what I'm saying. Eggplant rollatini is a different story, but if you're gonna go straight parmesan, it's gonna be tough. Love of a dog. I mean, dogs don't know how to do anything but love. So it's so hard. It's so unfair to try to even compare them, I think. I think it's great, dogs and their love, and I think they also make you more loving. So I think they help add to the equation. So there we go. At Sim Direction, CIM Direction with 2 N's on Twitter asks, how do you ask someone out? Good question. You just do it. And here's what I mean. I don't know your age. I don't know your situation. And I think across the line, there's reasons not to ask people out across the line. You know, you're afraid of rejection, afraid of, do they like you, any of that stuff. But I think you just have to get the nerve to do it. And you could just take a chance and see what happens. The only thing that could happen is they say no. So really, that's it. And then you have to deal with the embarrassment of that. And people might make fun of you a little bit. You know, there might be a bigger risk than most people like to lay off. You know, a lot of people just say, you know, oh, what's the worst that can happen? They just say no. But there's a lot that goes with that, right? If somebody says no, you feel dejected. Other people might know you asked them out, so you feel bad. And then those people might make fun of you or talk about that or know about that, and you fear that stuff. But none of that can equate to if they say yes and you start your way on a relationship with somebody and how fun that could be. So it's a risk reward for me. I think you just got to get out there and ask them. Nobody ever said yes to a date they weren't asked on. And that's a fact. What are you going to say about that? Bessie asked me out. So that worked out for her and me. But you know what I'm saying. Come on. Look at this. She's probably regretting the situation. Maybe look at me. I'm a monster. But I'm just saying. So it's important to know that you can just have to take the shot. I think you have to shoot your shot. What is your favorite love song? Whew, that's tough. I love me some classic Sinatra. The Way You Look Tonight. It's my wedding song. I love that song. It's great. Also, Stay Together by Al Green. Phenomenal song. And then Pony, I think, is something that's really underrated. Right? I think it's really just a classical. It's just something that just keeps giving. It's an instruction manual. It also tells you, it sets the mood. It's a great love song. So those would be my top 3. And I put them on an equal playing field with classics. At DazRT67 on Twitter asks, would you say you give love out generously, or would you say you only have real love for a handful of people? That's pretty deep. I like that. Me personally, I'd say I'm pretty generous in my love, but I hold people to a standard to keep that love alive, if that makes sense. I do expect, if you're in my tier of people I love, that it's a mutual love and it's a healthy relationship. So I think that is important. And that those people that are in that tier, I would say, are kind of handfully. I'd probably brink on just an overflow. It's probably 2 handfuls of people, so it's 2 that I'm holding. And I don't know why I did this, okay? Because we're talking about love, and I'm starting to do this. Looks like a butt grab, so I apologize. But it's what happened, and I'm going to embrace it. So I hope everybody here is fine with it. Next, at Musical Moriarty on Twitter asks, self-love and how it's just as important as romantic love. I feel like it's overlooked a lot. Talk about that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think there is truth to that. You need to be in love with yourself before you can allow people to be in love with you. People will help you feel good about yourself and help you get to a level where you feel more comfortable and bring you to a better level. Those are the healthiest relationships, right? Somebody builds you up. That's my favorite thing about relationships, is to be there for somebody. But I think if you're not ready to put yourself out there, or are coming at it in a way where you're not confident or comfortable with yourself, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And it probably won't end up being the healthiest or best relationship for you. So what can we do? What can we do if that's the situation, right? What can we do for self-love? What are some good things? One, I would say here's some things that I did for self-love in the beginning because I wasn't what I considered the best version of myself. I made a list of attributes that I would use to describe somebody who is a good person or somebody that's loved or whatever, and I would take those words one by one and build on each of those words. So if I thought trustworthy or loyal or genuine or caring or funny or whatever, I would just take one of those words and I'd work on that word for about a week. And that would be my word. I would try to do things that helped me become that way. And I would try to carry that on as long as I could until it became habit, became a natural part of my DNA. So I think that's important. Remember that you could change your personality, right? You could change things about you. It's not only just physical change, but things about you and the way your mind works and all that. You're in charge of all that stuff, you know? Of course, there's barriers. Of course, there's things that make it a little bit tougher for other people than you or whatever. But just remember that if there's something you don't like about yourself, the only person that's changing it is you. And if there's something that you think is getting in the way of people loving you, you're the one that has to change it, right? So you're the one that needs to do it. So a lot falls on that. So that's where I think how self-love ties into being loved. That being said, don't change yourself for anybody else. All this stuff has to come from you. What do you think about you that could be better? Not what people are saying or you thinking about, say about you or to you. It's really about what you think. So I hope that makes sense. That got a little deeper than I thought it was gonna. But that's kind of how I dealt with it, and I'm kind of happy with where I'm at. So I'm very happy with where I'm at. At Draco HP. Oh, it's like a Harry Potter printer. When did you know your wife was the one? I will say the way she stood by my side when my mom died. I went through a really tough time when my mom died suddenly overnight, and I had to bury her, and I wasn't expecting to lose her. She died young, and to have Bessie to lean on during that whole process was like, oh wow, this is nice. So I thought that'd be a good reason to wife her up. And then also my mom was out of the picture, so she didn't have to deal with a crazy in-law, because my mom would have been a batshit crazy mother-in-law. We all know it. It's okay. You know it. Don't even start, Jerry. But she was awesome, but I was her baby boy, and she was very protective of me. And I think it'd be kind of interesting to see how that whole dynamic worked out for Bessie. That's kind of one of my... I would love to see that. Here's a funny story just to show you how fucked up I am with messing with Bessie with my mother. Bessie moved to New York in the end of August. My niece and nephew's birthday is Labor Day-ish, September 3rd. So we had a big Labor Day party. And my mother hated watermelon with a passion. So it was time for dessert, and I was cutting the watermelon for my sister, and Bessie was there. And I said, oh, Bess, do me a favor, bring this plate of watermelon to my mother for me. And so Bessie goes all over trying to impress Mrs. Gatto. She's been here for like 3 days. Mom knows like 4 days. And she was like, here you go, Mrs. Gatto. My mother was going, get the out of here with the watermelon. And Bessie's like, oh, she didn't know what to do. And me and my sister were just crying, laughing. And that's probably my favorite memory of them together. So yeah, that's it. I would say that's how I knew Bessie was the one. And then a lot of things, I will honestly say she's one of the only women that makes me laugh in my life. Like I'm always like I find enjoyment in her, and we laugh together a lot, and that's always the best stuff. So I think that's important. At Mamo Maridi asks, how do you put memories of a former lover away? Ooh, interessante. Sounds scandalous, Mamo. Well, here's the thing, right? There's the physical things, right? You could throw away letters, delete texts, do all that stuff. But then there's always the emotional imprint that somebody has on you that you're never going to get rid of. So I don't think you have to put the memories of a former lover away unless there is a reason to. Meaning, if it's stopping the growth of the current relationship or getting in the way of you being a better partner or person in a relationship, sure, get rid of that stuff. Don't let it ruin anything. But if it's just like I learned a lot of lessons from women that I was with before Bessie. So I think that's fine to, that stuff doesn't have an expiration date. It's going to affect you, and it's going to help form it's going to form a lot of things. It's going to form the way you act as a partner or a person in a relationship, the way you view a relationship, what you get out of it. It's going to learn from mistakes of why it didn't work, how to be better, how to get something better out of the people you're with. I think that's important. The physical stuff might be a little tricky. Like you shouldn't probably, if you're married, shouldn't be like having, reading old texts from your ex-girlfriend and crying about your current situation. Like, that's probably not good. So I wouldn't do that. But I think you need to remember they're former for a reason too, right? Learn from them, grow, and move on. At Eva Marie on Twitter says, date night with your loves, question mark? Yes. We do date nights. If it's a family date night with the kids, we do that sometimes, which is fun. We let them stay up late, and I make popcorn and we pick a movie, and they get through about half of the movie on like either, HBO Max, or or watching something. That'll be fun, and then we let them fall asleep in our bed, and then I put them to bed. With Bess, date nights range anything from like when we could used to be able to do more date nights because the world was right. We were pretty simple. We liked a good dinner, and then, a drive is always fun too. And we kind of like now try to like go away together just for a day or two, like, try to escape. Like we just had a nice weekend with a couple friends up in Beacon, New York, a couple weeks ago. We did a little shopping on the main street, and, we had dinner with another couple, and we got to sleep in a bed without 9 dogs and not get woken up, by that. So that was fun. I got to sleep in. So those are fun. And just like the laughing and talking and eating. Like we love like ordering room service and eating it in the bed. Like that's like our favorite thing to do. Just have fun. Like it's all about eating, if you don't know that about me already. Yeah, that's always fun. We kind of like active date nights, so it's not really just like a movie kind of thing because you don't really connect or talk. Like we like to talk and connect. So it's like we were putting together a bunch of Lego sets, which was fun, and jigsaw puzzles. We were doing that stuff. That was really fun. So I think those connection things, that's the way we operate. That's our love language thing. On Instagram, at Beatriz_._.aguiar asks, I want to hear about how you and your wife met. We used to work for the same company, and she worked in San Francisco. I worked in New York. I was in charge of the training program, so I had to go train people. We opened a new store. I trained her and met her there, and then we dated long distance for a year and a half. And eventually I told her we have to break up or she has to move to New York. I couldn't do it anymore, and she called my bluff and moved into New York to move in with me and Murray in a 750 square foot apartment, 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom. And she hung in there for 3 years until we were able to move out on our own. So, yep, that's that story. At Jaden.mong on Instagram. How do you keep love alive through the years? I mean, it's still kind of natural for me for 7 years. I don't think I'm not one of those long, 10 years if we're counting dating, but like it's just still feels natural. It feels like I don't have to address it. The big thing is just connection. Talking, connecting on a real level. I think that's a big part of it. Where do you and your wife go on your first date? She asked me to a date to see a movie, and we went to see, they had this cinema in San Francisco that was old, like an old cinema that had couches. Not like set up chairs, and you basically sat on a couch and snuggled. And we watched Let the Right One In, which is a horror movie about a teen vampire girl that falls in love with a preteen boy, and they have a illicit love affair. And it was in Dutch because it was the original version, not the remake. It got remade a couple years later and was released in English. So it was like subtitled. It was probably a terrible first date for her, but it worked out. So that was our first date. And we went and got a drink first. I bought her a drink, and then we talked a little bit and then went to the movie. At Jen Staps says, talk about your expectations of your daughter's future husband. I think I'd like to have her follow the example of the husband I'm being. I think I'm very cognizant of that with my daughter about molding her perception of what a husband should be with Bessie. So I think that's it. My daughter, somebody clearly broke into my house. I think there might be a burglar. So if I'm taken here, I hope someone has a specific set of skills and can help me, because I'm about to be taken. At Marissa Nicole 24, I want to know what your favorite thing is about being a dad. There's so many things I love about being a dad. One of my favorite things, though, is that I get to play. That's really fun to get to play and to pass on traditions. Like I'm big on legacy and things like that, and I think that's really fun. Like to play with the toys that I used to play with and teach them about things. Milana's favorite question is, did you used to do this when you were a kid? Like she loves that. So that's really fun to be able to answer that. What's your favorite rom-com? Asks John_MCC34. In the rom-coms, I mean, I love A Love Actually. It's my go-to during Christmas movie thing. I also don't hate A Maid in Manhattan. With J-Lo. I mean, if I push comes to shove, because there's a lot there for that. I do like a good Hallmark movie too. I like them that way too. The Hallmark films are very entertaining to me. We do watch a lot of rom-coms in my house. Sandy Bullock, She Brings the Thunder. Miss Congeniality is a classic for me. Gotta love that. 2 didn't do it as well for me as 1, but hey, no hate, only appreciate. What else? I think it's another rom-com that jumps out at me. Oh, The Princess Bride, which I consider a rom-com, but it's phenomenal. That's probably my favorite. If you're going to label that a rom-com, it's my favorite romantic comedy of all time, The Princess Bride. Watch it right now if you haven't seen it. I'll wait. Let's end it on there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I had so much fun, as always, with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. And then follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Joe_Gatto. And that's it.